Hello, friends, and welcome to the Heal and Harm Show with myself, Sabrina Scott. In case you don't know me, I am a professional witchy person, tarot reader, life coach. What else? I don't know, a lot of things with 5 books out and 4 journals. And this is my second podcast, the Heal and Harm Show, where we talk about the positives and negatives of the spiritual wellness space, toxicity, the good stuff, healing, hope, and also sometimes the shitty stuff that happens when we try to get into communities in the spiritual space and it all goes to shit. And I'm very, very excited to have Marisa here today. And if you could introduce yourself and let everyone know why you are the best.
Yeah, so I'm Marisa de la Pena. I'm the creator of the Circo Tarot. I don't know if I would consider myself the best, but we've been
Oh, wait.
friends for like a long ass time. And, you're a creator, I'm a creator. I've been out of the community for quite some time, but, I'm really interested in making decks again and stepping back into community after taking a break for quite a long time, for personal reasons, which we're probably going to go into.
I'm super excited.
Yeah, I love making decks. I love making tools for people to use. And, I think if anything, if I have to toot my own horn, I'm good at making tools for people. And yeah.
I love that. And so, how did you get into witchy tarot stuff for anyone who is not familiar with you and your story and all of that?
I think I'm like a lot of people. I was a really precarious kid who went to the library a lot and found witchy books and, was like really just drawn to it. And also like, I grew up around like Grandismo and, growing up like around that sort of like Mexican like Brujeria culture, and like, indigenous spirituality, like I was already automatically sort of ingrained into it. And I don't know if like any other like Latinos can like resonate with this, but like having like Walter Mercado on like
Yeah.
on your television like every day as like a kid, like that kind of like was also ingrained into me. And also kind of having like an already witchy mom. That also really helped. And, I think in a lot of like Mexican culture, there's already a lot of that sort of tied into a lot of things. So, I mean, it was just kind of like a given that I would kind of like fall into it. And one thing that I was just really drawn into was tarot.
Hmm.
I've been probably like I would say since like 15 been doing like tarot consistently, and that's like been like my main tool of choice, and I don't think I will ever give up tarot.
I love that. I love the tarot. It's like my favorite thing, basically,
Yeah.
like witchy spiritual occult land. So, how
Yeah.
did you get into tarot and what was your first deck?
Oh, I mean, Raider White Smith. Like, I think that's like everyone gets, that's like the first one.
You know what?
Um,
My first one was actually this Celtic Dragon tarot.
oh, okay, that's cool.
So random. It's like so 80s and like crazy. And I only actually got the Rider-Waite-Smith like 10 years into my tarot journey, which is so ironic because I tell all my students like start with the Rider-Waite-Smith or else I'm gonna like waggle my finger at you. But I'm like, I did
Yeah.
not have that when I was a kid. So what resonated with you with the Rider-Waite-Smith? Because I've heard a lot of people kind of hate on that deck or just be so skeptical of it. Like I personally love that deck, but it has its haters. Like what about that deck do you love?
I just think I, really resonated a lot with the imagery.
Yeah.
I felt like for me, it was easy for me to just understand the imagery and sort of, okay, like this is how I read it. This is how I understand it. And like as soon as like I saw an image, I was like, oh, this is what this means. And
Hmm.
it just immediately locked into my brain and stuck with me.
Totally.
Um, that's just how I learned and it ingrained with me. And that's basically like what I've always used as the foundation when making tarot decks for like people is like using that as a foundation.
Absolutely. Like it's an excellent deck. Like people talk shit, but like the way that she draws and like the gesture of the characters, the
Yeah.
the tools, like the body language, the environment, like all of it
Yeah.
like rich symbolism. And so
Yeah.
obviously, as you know, like so many decks that came after that are so largely based on that deck that if they
Yeah.
don't know it, like they're gonna be missing out on so much.
Yeah, and like there's just like certain little elements, like particularly like the death card. That one always sticks out to me like the most, where I'm like just certain symbology, like a white rose. Like those certain things just like stick out to me where I'm like that will never leave my brain.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
So iconic. So iconic. And so what was your first deck that you created and what inspired you to create your own deck?
the Circo Tarot.
Which has
Um,
a big like cult following, kind of. Like before this chat, I was like, let's see what the internet says lately. And it's like there's tons of like Reddit posts being like, where can I find the Circo Tarot? It's like out of print. And it's like become this mythological kind of cult following where everyone's like, where did she go? Wow, where can I find it? What's going on? Like, so
yeah.
what was your inspiration behind starting that? And then also taking, you took it out of print, right?
Yeah, I took it out of print and especially when I'll go into like how publishing works and how when someone buys the rights to something, why it becomes a little bit more complicated than to republish things.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, I can always republish the Circo Tarot, but it's a little bit more complicated. Um, what made me create it was I think a lot of things that I create come from terrible things that happen in my life.
That's such a great way to alchemize that feeling. Because a lot of
Yeah,
people just wallow and just do nothing. And there's a time and
yeah,
place for that. But I think creation after struggle or sadness is such a beautiful way to work through that emotion. That's kind of
yeah.
the best way to do it, really.
Yeah. And I started off creating something and I didn't like the format of the first incarnation of what I was working on when it came to this tarot deck. It was first done in ink and I was like, I don't like the style. Like, and then I started moving into gouache.
Mm.
But I first started while I was going through like a terrible breakup. And I was going through like a lot of like health issues and I was like living in Providence, Rhode Island, and I did not like where I was living. Yeah, I was literally falling apart. I had like an eye patch, like it was awful.
Like pirate vibes happening.
Yeah, and I was living in an apartment with no heat, like in the dead of winter. And then finally, I was like, okay, this breakup happened. I'm going back to LA, which is where I'm from. And I feel like the color came back into my life. And then that's when I started making this really beautiful, colorful deck. But then also what kind of really put me into this sort of like, I'm going to start making this deck faster was the passing of my grandfather. And I feel like a lot of things that like grief makes me work. I don't know why. I think maybe it's just trauma just tends to make me focus tunnel vision onto certain things. And losing him was really, really tough. And the way that I processed that sort of moment in my life was working on that deck.
Mm.
And I'm literally, I don't, that deck, I just like pumped out. Like I just was like, well, if I'm going to cry, I'm going to cry while I paint. And I just
Mm.
pounded that deck out. And then I was like, you know what? I want to publish this deck. I can't afford it. I'm a waitress and I'm like living in a living room. Like, what am I going to do? I'm like 23 years old. Like, I have like nothing to my name. So I'm going to start a Kickstarter. And then people became interested in it. And I was like kind of shocked that people were interested in this sort of self-published deck. And then, I got funding and I, went to a local printer and it was really exciting, but then it was so hard to like, be like, I'm gonna hand print all these bags and like dye them and package them and then ship them. People don't realize Kickstarters are exhausting.
Oh man, amen.
Yeah.
Like I just did one a few years ago and oh man, yeah, it's a lot more work than you think it's going to be.
Yeah. The follow through is intense. And if you're going to do it, you better follow through because people are spending their money. And that was one thing that I made sure of is like, if people, and this is one thing that I'm very adamant about, if you are spending your money on something, you better give people a quality product.
Yeah.
Like I grew up like with very stern, like hardworking Mexicanos in my family. We don't deliver shit. And I was not going to deliver a shit product.
Hmm.
So I worked my ass off to make sure that the first incarnation of this deck was as good as possible. So I busted my tail and, packaged all these boxes. Like I hand printed all these stamps, hand dyed these bags. I wanted to make it as amazing as possible. And, from there, that's when I started, getting really into self-publishing. I made different incarnations, different versions of this deck. And then one day, out of the blue, on if you're a publisher, never call someone on April Fool's Day.
Oh my God.
Never call them on April Fool's Day.
That's hilarious.
Because that's what Harper Collins did. They called me on April Fool's Day. And they were like, "Oh, we're interested in," and I was like, "Ha ha ha, like you're so funny." And then like I hung up on them because I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm like,
Like one of your friends trolling you or something.
yeah, I was like, "Oh my mierda," like I don't like you guys are fucking jokers, like whatever. So yeah, like I didn't, and then they called me again and they're like, "No, no, we're actually interested. Like we're gonna email you." And that's then they paid me and they bought the rights to this deck and they published it under a new name.
Mm-hmm.
So, like it took off. But when people buy the rights to your work, things change.
Mm-hmm.
So when they did that, then Urban Outfitters got the right to then print my deck.
Mm,
And so it becomes a little bit harder to then publish another version of this deck because I have to be a little bit careful.
yeah.
Yeah. So I do want, don't worry, people. At some point, I am going to reprint this deck. It's just going to take some time. Also, with given how things are right now with the cost of stuff, it's going to take a while for me to want to print this, and it's going to be costly.
That's a lot of
So,
time
yeah,
now with all of that. Like I'm actually so glad that my Kickstarter basically finished, like again, not
yeah,
to get into this, but like before all the tariffs really started taking place.
yeah,
That only affected me like a tiny little bit. Like I did have to ask folks for like a little bit of a tariff charge because my books were printed in the States and in Chicago and then having them shipped here. Like I ended up having to pay an extra like $400 or something.
yeah. And I live in New Mexico, so like things are expensive.
Yeah.
And I do want to read because that's my baby. Like that's I my favorite deck I've ever created was the Circo Tarot.
So if you wanted to self-pub that again, like would you have to buy your rights back or would you just have to change the artwork like significantly?
I would I wouldn't have to change. I would have to reprint the version that I initially started with. It's just the cost of it. And then like, kind of making sure that like I would need to talk to them being like, is it okay if I like and just kind of talking to them a little bit about like legal and all that. I
Yeah.
think it would be fine.
Yeah.
But because they printed it under the name of How to Deal.
Yeah, so I saw that. I was going to ask you about that. So, because it comes like with a little guidebook that's written by somebody that I personally
Yeah,
am.
Sammy Main, who's a wonderful woman.
I don't know
Um,
anything about that person at all, so I'll take your word. And so, what was
she's
that
very
like?
nice.
What was that like to have someone like basically write like a tarot book around your deck? Like, was that kind of how it happened, or did she like have her own book about tarot, and then you guys just kind of like merged it through that
She
process?
had her own book, and I was kind of given a little bit of a guide of like what they were looking for. And so they used my deck as the sort of like foundation of like what they were like for the cards. And I had to change some cards, obviously, because this was geared towards a younger audience. I had to get rid of things with like nudity. There were certain things I had to get rid of because they were like, this might be considered cultural appropriation. And I'm kind of like,
All right. Yeah.
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 Um, and we can get into that.
Yeah.
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 Um, yeah, and it's kind of funny. I'm like, you're talking to me a Mexicana about that. Okay, cool. Because like there were certain cards where I was kind of like, this is kind of like a little bit of my own culture in this, but okay, whatever.
Mhm.
So I had to change some certain things, and obviously to make things a little bit more appropriate for a younger audience. And those things are now part of what they purchased and what they bought the rights to. So I can't publish those.
That makes sense. You probably wouldn't even really want to anyway, because it is like,
No, no. I mean, the cards that I redid for that, I think are beautiful and like they fit into that sort of genre, which is exciting. but it's not the Circo Tarot. You
Absolutely.
know, there's certain cards where I was like, this has to be part of this deck, you
Yeah,
know, and
that makes sense.
yeah, this is for the age appropriate group.
Yeah. So like how do you feel about that project now? Because like as far as I'm aware, that was kind of your biggest, most commercial like project. Like do you regret being involved with that? Or are you feeling really, really good about it? Like how do you feel about it now a few years after the fact?
I mean, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how the publishing industry works. I think things have definitely changed, especially with like AI.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the industry really looks like because this was pre-AI. I don't know what, illustrators really deal with nowadays.
Mm,
Um, like how their work is treated. I think definitely I would be a lot more weary being approached by a publishing company. I
mm.
have friends who work with publishing companies when it comes to their decks and they're dealing with AI stuff and it's
Really?
kind of scary.
Like what AI stuff are they dealing with? Like if you're able to share any of that. Just
Like the legality of like, just like the imagery, there's stuff being protected,
mm,
um, things like that. Like it's like stuff in their contracts are not being disclosed.
yeah.
It's just kind of scary. Um,
And I think there's also a lot of like AI decks that are kind of coming out or deck
yeah,
like creating decks with AI but not disclosing that all their artwork like is AI.
yeah. And I mean, like in my work, like I had to do AI training in my industry and like AI ethics. So like I had to do all of that. There's not a lot of protections for artists, which is kind of scary. And
Absolutely.
that's what worries me is like when people are signing these contracts and I don't know what they're dealing with, but I have a feeling that there's just not a lot of protections when it comes to their art and like what happens to their art like say 10 years down the road, like down the road. Like is their art protected? Like because of AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and my sister, she's becoming a lawyer and she's going into the whole legal route of like what AI does and like legal protections for people because there is no protections, particularly in the United States when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting to see how that all pans out. And to
yeah.
be honest, like not to go off on a tangent, but like one thing that disturbs me about AI is like people using AI to get tarot readings. I'm just like, are you for real right now? Like you're
Oh my
asking
God.
Chat GPT to like pull cards for you? Like what is going on? It's like that is not the vibe, in my
It's
opinion.
not. It's
It's
not.
like not the vibe at all. Because like the
Yeah.
how it works is like it's just gonna spit out the card that describes your situation. Like it's not gonna give you like some random thing that is gonna give you an insight.
Yeah. And so there's this thing with like AI when you feed it information, and if you keep feeding it information, at a certain point, it's kind of like AI has burnout
Mhm.
and it starts just spilling out garbage and garble and things that just don't make sense, and that's called a hallucination.
Which I
So
kind of
you're
love that it's called that.
yeah, so you're getting garbage information that makes like no sense whatsoever.
Absolutely. I'm seeing that as like an oracle spiritual experience, and which it just is not. So
Yeah,
there's like I'm sure so much we could talk about with that like forever. Such a crazy topic.
yeah,
But I also
but
wanted to ask you about the Persephone Tarot, which I think is actually how we got connected because you sent that to me like a bazillion trillion years ago. You were just like, "Can I send you this?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And then I was like, "Can we be friends?" Like after I got it, I was like, "This is so amazing." So what was the
yeah.
story behind that deck and how it came to be?
I
And
love Persephone. I love her story. I just think that she's like such a cool goddess who just, I mean, gets not a lot of, I mean, I think now people are starting to like give her a little bit more recognition. And people are, I don't know, I don't see her as a victim.
yeah,
I see her as a woman who has agency and as a woman who was like, I'm choosing my own path.
yeah,
And, I just think that she's so cool and badass and, embrace a lot of like this sort of like shadow work and shadow self. And I really love that about her. And that, I just love Persephone. I just think that she's so cool. And I just loved working on this deck and sort of bringing more people from the canon of Greek mythology that are a little bit less known.
Mhm.
Because I feel like a lot of people sort of just focus on other gods and goddesses that are a little bit, like, you know,
The big
more
one.
focused.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like more of like the obscure people and a little bit more of their stories. And working on that was just really fun for me and really cool. But again, like I got a lot of flack for it too.
Okay, I actually didn't know that. It's like, what was the flag?
About people being like, oh, it's like not as accurate. Like, because people are nerds when it comes to Greek mythology, and they're like, it's not as accurate, or like, people are like, this god is actually about this and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, this is my interpretation of it.
Yeah.
It's my interpretation of it. And if you don't like it, like, that's
That's
totally
fine.
fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And I
and
find
also, like, again, like the whole appropriation thing where it's like, well, that's not your background. And it's like, okay, like, I'm sorry.
yeah. So is that deck still in print or did you also pull that
N-
one out?
No, it's not in print. I only did one run of it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but I loved working on it because I love Greek mythology and I worked a lot with Persephone. I love her.
Yeah.
I just think that she's so cool
Yeah.
and lovely, and I think that she's a great goddess to work with if you work with, any sort of deities.
Absolutely. How many copies of that did you print?
Like 300.
God, yeah, I don't know if I told you this, but like I still have it, but I got some DMs like when I posted it being like, "Can I send you like $600 to buy this deck?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm keeping."
Yeah, like I have it, like I still use it. Like
That's
it's still
awesome.
like one of my favorite, decks because I loved working on it. It's, simple, it's super fun. But yeah, I got a lot of flack for it, which kind of broke my heart because I worked really hard on it. And, I think that that's also kind of why I stepped away a little bit from community because I feel like a lot of people, and I kind of got a little bit into this mindset too, where it was like, well, if it's not part of my background, then I shouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Mm.
And yeah.
So tell me about that because you did post someone on Reddit reposted your like stepping away talk. So like even if it's not on your website anymore, like it exists on the internet. Like I reread it before this chat. And so you did step away pretty publicly at one point, like from all this whole space. And before that, you were working on a project called Not Your Ancestors or something to that effect.
Yeah. And I was like really into it. And then I was like, actually, this is stupid.
Yeah, so tell me about that. Like what inspired
Yeah,
you to
because
be
I
like,
was I was kind of getting fed up with like a lot of these decks that I felt like were really culturally appropriative, and some of them were kind of really fucked up and kind of stupid. And, but then I had to really sort of think about there was a time and a place where these sort of conversations were not even happening. And, I think also being in academia sort of really changed my brain about it too, where I kind of felt like a lot of this was sort of becoming punitive
hmm,
and sort of like policey.
yeah.
And I didn't like the way that I was coming off, and I didn't like the tone.
Your
And I
tone,
didn't
people's tone, or like everyone.
I didn't like my tone.
Yeah.
And I didn't like what I was also seeing in the community. I didn't like the way I was seeing people treat other people.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't like the way that I was contributing to it. And I was like, oh, I thought I was doing something really great. And then I realized, oh no, I'm being an idiot.
Okay, so tell me about that realization and that transformation. Because I think, especially looking back at like 2020, which I feel like is when everything just kind of exploded.
Yeah.
Everyone was being absolutely nuts. Like looking back at your own evolution, like what was it that inspired you to take this pause in terms of, let's say, the tone, to use your own words just now, the tone of how you were kind of dealing with it or the tone that you were occupying, and then the community. Like what was it that you were observing in yourself and in others that you were like, hold on, I need to fuck off for a little bit and like step away?
Um, I think some of it I saw in academia, actually. And so, I was in like a sort of multi-generational cohort in my sort of academic circle. And so part of my academic graduate program was that we had to teach in order to have tuition remission. So that meant my program was fully paid for. And so I was working alongside people that were much older than me. And, these are people that have like lived lives
Mm-hmm.
that are so much more enriched than mine. They are the reason why I have what I have. And they're the reason why people younger than me have what they have. And just seeing how like younger people treated them in the classroom and were just like so abhorrent to them when like they would just like talk about certain things like in art, I just was like, you wouldn't have anything if it weren't for this person. Like you wouldn't have like the right to say any of this shit if it weren't for this person behind me. Like, and you're being so awful to them because they didn't say XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
Like because you don't like their answer or because you think that they're defending someone or defending something that you like you're just because you are disagreeing with them, you're cutting them down. Like
Mm-hmm.
people were just cutting each other down over disagreements and just being so awful to each other. And I was contributing to that and I did not like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing how awful we were to each other. And I was like looking at my behavior and I was like, this is gross.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the language that we're using towards each other. I don't like the fact that I'm pointing a finger at someone and saying, you're bad, because that's not how we learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like it just felt really icky. And, you know, I didn't like seeing how people were treating each other. And I thought that I was like so self-righteous. I thought I was like on this soapbox and I was like onto something. And I was like, oh, like I'm onto this great idea. And it's like, no, I'm being so mean and awful to people, especially people who are wanting to be a good ally and wanting to like be on my side. I'm cutting them down before I can even invite them into my circle.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is so fucked up.
Totally.
It is just so gross. And I I should have learned from my elders too, because I come from a family of activists. Like again, I wouldn't have shit if it weren't for people like my dad or my mom who were part of these walkouts in like the 60s and 70s. Like I wouldn't have shit if it weren't for them. And they weren't people who were saying, "Oh, you can't be part of the movement because of XYZ or because you look like this or because you're not using this proper language."
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't say all these terrible things to people. They were taking as many bodies as they could because they needed people on their side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I'm an asshole. And I didn't like that behavior. I didn't like what I looked at. And I just was like, I want to step back. And I was also seeing so many people that I respected be awful to the people that I cared about and like bully each other. And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want to bully people anymore. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. And for what? Getting fucking followers? Getting clout?
Mm-hmm.
No, gross. Like, this is disgusting. And then having to keep up that mentality of cutting people down. I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a part of that. Like, there's an actress that I love. And to this day, like, I think that everyone should abide by this. Dolores Del Rio, who is like the most beautiful woman of all time. Fucking fight me. She's a Mexican actress from the golden age of Mexican cinema. And she basically said that like all of your ills will show on your face. All of the bad things that you do in your life show on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't want that negative, gross shit on me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to carry that ickiness on me. So I had to step back from community because I'm like, I'm contributing to this nastiness. I
Yeah.
don't want to do that anymore. And I also don't want to be a part of this bully circle
Yeah.
of women.
Totally. Yeah. I'm glad that you're talking about this. And I don't think I've actually told you this, but I remember like way back, like obviously we've been friends for a while. And like there was a time like when you did a few interviews, and I remember listening to them and I was like, whoa. And I was like, I need to like take a step back because this is like scary. Like some of the stuff you were saying, I was like, I'm like, this is hardcore. I was like clutching my pearls. I was like, this is, I'm like, I was like, oh no, this is not good. And so I'm actually so glad
Yeah.
that like you kind of came to that conclusion kind of
Yeah.
on your own. Like I didn't confront you about it. I was just like taking some space or whatever, and like kind of being a little bit more arm's length. So like, I was so stoked when you started to open up to me about like some of those like changes in your mentality and like what you were going through. Because like you knew what I've been through academia. So it's like I kind of knew what you were talking about in a sense of like how weird and fucked up it is. And it bugs me a lot that these academic things have infected like community so much. And I think people out like in the world and like community don't necessarily always realize where did all these ideas come from? Like a lot of it comes from the academy. And I think some of these things talking about like, identity politics or whatever the fuck it is, that can be really interesting in an abstract university classroom if it stays there.
Yeah.
But when it leaves the classroom and starts to become a stand-in for real life, and people in front of you, like the flesh and blood people, stop being people and start being symbols, and then people also flatten themselves into a symbol based on identity. Like it creates this very like dehumanized, objectified way of engaging with one another.
Yeah.
Like for whatever reason, I've seen that like infect the spiritual community so much. And it's very bizarre to me. Like it's infected so many different areas. Like the arts community is a lot like this, at least where I live. Comics community is a lot like this where I live. The witchy community, like online witchy community. Like it's just so everywhere still, where
Yeah.
people are completely content to be flattening themselves into a symbol, flattening other people into a symbol, and just removing humanity and nuance from the conversation and from the equation. And it's like, I know we've talked a lot about like identity and heritage and all of that. And like almost nobody is like a pure anything, quote unquote. Like we're all like these interesting mixes of like a million different things, of
Yeah.
backgrounds, different experiences. Like no one is this like pure symbol that academia and all of the woke whatever wants to pretend that everyone is. At least in my opinion, it's like it's so overly simplified. And I think a lot of people don't want to deal with the fact that the world is chaotic and complicated and nuanced, and humanity has got a lot more going on than just these little symbols. And one of the things I always try to remember, like as I'm engaging with people, even people I don't like, is like everyone's got a story that you know nothing about. Like everyone has been through horrors, horrible things, heartbreak, illness, death, whatever. Like everyone has a story that like we know nothing about. Like every person we cross on the street has got their own unique story that a lot of people online and like that interact in these ways that the academy is kind of push on everyone. Like that all of that is erased.
Yeah. And that's something that like breaks my heart is like in this community is like we forget that people are people
Totally.
and we forget, we could still be friends. We don't have to get along on everything. We don't have to like everything, it's just I
Absolutely.
remember being friends with certain people and I didn't agree with them all the time. We didn't like the same things. And then when they started just, and even to this day, just being nasty to each other, like, and just saying, like, well, if you're not like this and if you're not like that, then there's the door.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what happens when there's no one else behind you? There's no one else in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting too because it's so based on this purity politic, and it's like of attacking other people and bullying like you're talking about. And it's like at some point like that mob is going to come for you. Like
Yeah.
no one is safe.
Yeah.
when people's communities are based on this idea of like purity of
Yeah.
ideology, of language, of whatever.
Yeah.
Like is safe within that environment, which is so ironic because I think a lot of these spaces and communities do claim safety or do claim that they are more like morally la 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 whatever it is than literally all other parts of society. But in my experience, it's actually been totally the opposite. Like the
Yeah.
most accepting places that I've ever found community is like places where people don't give a single fuck about politics and like don't even talk about identity or race or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
The communities that I've been in where that's all people talk about, it's like the most divisive and angry and least compassionate places that I've
Yeah.
been in. I don't
I
know.
feel like when I started posting more about like identity, I started getting attacked more on my actual identity,
Mm,
where it's like, you're not brown enough, you're not indigenous enough. Like, why do you feel like you can say these certain things? Like, who the fuck do you think you are? And it's kind of like, that's really sad when there's so much like your own community starts attacking you because
totally.
they have this certain idea of like, oh, well, you're not enough. Like, what makes you think you can say certain things? And like that just starts to chip away at you.
Mhm.
It starts to break your heart.
Yeah.
And then it's not even, and sometimes it's not even your own community. It's people like, that are cheering that sort of mentality on as well.
Yeah.
And they start building this idea of like, well, if you don't look like this, then why are you saying this? And
Hmm.
it's kind of like, because this is nuanced.
Yeah.
People are nuanced.
Yeah.
Like identity is nuanced.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like
And, it's really sad. And like, again, like that's why I took a step back is because of just how community is to each other and, what I experienced. I had people sending me nasty DMs, awful things, saying terrible things to me. And, sometimes the best that you can do is just step back
totally.
and, kind of also reflect on your own behavior and reflect on like, well, how do I move forward?
Yeah.
And sometimes that is just taking a big hibernation break
Totally.
just to figure things out. And I'm really grateful that I did that because I feel like a lot of people don't take the time for self-reflection.
Yeah.
I really recommend it.
Totally. And yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, especially with the online world, like there is this pressure that people put on themselves, and that I think the community puts on other people for everyone to respond to everything immediately,
Yeah,
to not take time to reflect, to
yeah,
just spit out an apology or spit out an explanation or spit out of this or spit out of that. And it's like the mob is so entitled to so much about us, which I think is so interesting. And a lot of people just give in and apologize for stuff that they don't actually shouldn't be apologizing for.
yeah.
I think one,
And
go ahead, yeah.
and I was gonna say, and I was like, 2026 is not about that.
Not at all.
Yeah. I'm
We're
like,
on
it's a 1 year. Like,
all that shit, we can leave that shit behind.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And so I really do hope that like the norms of engagement online do change. And I
yeah,
think the only way for that to really change is by more of us choosing to opt out of certain ways of behaving. Like I've had a few people come for me over the past 6 months, like big people, like you already know. And like I just blocked them and refused to participate. Like why? Like what's the point? Like if someone's coming at me in this rude way and attacking blah 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 about me, like they're not interested in a good faith discussion and they're not treating me with respect. And so therefore, like, bye. Like if I owned a bar and someone came into my bar and bashed a bottle of wine over my head, I would be kicking them out of the bar.
yeah,
My rules, bye. And it's like I feel kind of the same way about the internet, and I wish that more people would just disengage with certain things because from what I've observed, a lot of this stuff takes on a new life because more people do engage with it. People are addicted to the drama, the gossip. Oh my God, so and so's taking down so and so. Like, let's get some popcorn. And like, I've seen so many like popcorn emoji, like meme gifs, whatever, in like comment section of various things. And I think as a society, especially as people who are supposedly interested in spirituality and self-improvement and healing, Like we just collectively, I think, need to step away from that behavior and just opt out. Like there's been so many times people have come for me like on a Friday night on Instagram and I would just like it's always a Friday night because people have nothing else to do. And it's like, bitch, I'm at the gym. Like block, delete, bye. Like you should also maybe, go lift some weights to get all this anger out of your system. And to me, that is like a more wellness-minded approach than like being a keyboard warrior arguing about whatever the fuck it is. And
Yeah.
in my mind, like that is not spiritual. And so it's been really interesting to see so many people in this space who position themselves as spiritual leaders or spiritual community members or whatever it is, acting in some kind of way. Whoever that's towards, whether it's towards me, towards you, towards whoever else is their target that day. And like it's crazy that you received those messages. Like that's
Yeah.
bonkers.
Yeah. I mean, like I haven't had that in a hot minute because I protect my peace. And I also just like don't engage with that. I'm like, you guys are grown ass adults. Like, don't you have anything better to do?
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
absolutely.
like I'm 30 fucking 5. Like I have better things to do. Like I'm gonna go hang out with my friends and have a great glass of wine. I'm gonna go on a date. Like I don't need to engage with this sort of
Literally.
also that shit comes back.
It does.
Like, we're witches. Like we know that that shit comes back.
Absolutely.
And I don't engage in that sort of behavior for certain reasons.
Yeah. And
I mean,
actually,
I'm a chismosa. Like, trust me. Like, I love me some chisme, but like, I don't engage in that sort of shit for that reason. And I'm also not in the business of tearing other people down at this point in my life.
I hear that. Because, like, we can talk shit about certain dynamics, but, like, I'm not going to name any shisty folks in this episode. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason. Like, for me, it's more about naming the dynamics and the things that we're observing.
Yeah.
On that note, for anyone who's listening to this who, let's say, is dealing with attacks or the mean DMs, like what advice would you give to people who are on the receiving end of that BS? Like, how would you recommend that folks deal with that and step away? Because it's so hard to step away. And it took me like a while to be able to do it myself. And it's hard to do, especially if people aren't used to being on the receiving end of like all the haters and the mob. Like, what advice would you give?
There's a button called a block. Protect your peace.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, it's boundary work. Like it's like simple boundary work, you know? That's all you can do. Like again, if it's kind of like what RuPaul said, like if these bitches ain't paying your bills, pay them no mind. Like if you are not putting money in my bank account, like I don't give a shit about you.
yeah,
Like if you are not bringing anything positive to my life, like if you are not a good friend, if you are not bringing any positivity into the circle, like I just don't want to engage with you.
totally.
Like if you're not here to, you know, or if, even if we're not even having like a healthy debate, or if like you're not here to like do any of that, like I don't want to engage with you. Like
Totally.
I have other things to do in my life. Like I have a fulfilling career. I work in fucking art auctions. Like I have a very nice career. Like I don't need to be giving people on the internet my fucking time.
Totally.
And to people who are allowing other people to tear you down, don't.
Yeah,
Like you're an amazing individual who has so many things going for you. Some fucking stranger, like keyboard warrior, like ugh, ugh. Like why? Don't give that person any of your time. Like, mm-mm.
absolutely. And it's like the other thing that I also tell folks to remember too is like, would you ever do that to someone else? Because like,
Yeah.
however in deep into wokeness I was back in the day, like I actually never did slide into anyone's DMs and like call them evil or like whatever the fuck. And it's so easy to lose sight of that, I think, and to feel like we, especially as women, like, oh, we deserve it or whatever it is. Because it is
Yeah.
often, like women doing this behavior, I've noticed,
Yeah.
tear each other down, which I think is such a problem.
When you start going, and this is like one thing, like there are people in this world that I do not like. But when you start going after a woman, and particularly when you start going after her looks,
Yeah.
the first like, mm-mm,
Yeah.
like that's bad energy, man. I don't like that. Like that's gross. That's really gross. And I feel like that's like the first, like that's such like a low belt thing. Like, ugh.
It's super weird. It's super
It's
weird.
so weird. And I feel like that, I don't know, like I've just seen so many, and it's so funny to me that it's all these people that are, we know who these people are too. And they're like, I stand for all of these things. And I'm like, but yet you are so quick to cutting down women.
Totally.
And it's like, it's just so disappointing.
Yeah,
Like, I, there's just so many people that I used to really respect in this community that are just laying their asses hang out.
totally.
And I really hope that they also have some self-reflection because I'm like, I always have hope for people. And I know that I shouldn't.
Uh,
Maybe it's because I just have so much Pisces in my chart. And like I just have like I'm just like such a, I'm like, but the empathy, like, I'm like, but yeah, I have a lot of hope for people that they'll come around
Yeah.
and that they'll have self-reflection and that they'll see that their bad behavior is like it's not gonna end well.
Yeah. And I think the thing too is when people behave that way, like who it's harming a lot as well as like themselves, even if they don't feel it
Yeah.
in the moment. It's like they're cutting themselves off from growth, from evolution, from inner peace. Like I don't think anyone with inner peace is like going and starting like flame wars in the DMs and like starting internet drama. Like that is not what people really do who are like actualized in my
Yeah.
it's
And that's not a sustainable career either. Like I see a lot of these people and they're constantly having to rehash a lot of these things where I'm just kind of like, that's exhausting.
yeah.
Like, and that is not how I want to maintain my career. That is not.
No, but it is how a lot of people, as you said earlier, like get clout off of this behavior, like piggybacking off of other people's audiences, like with all these different call outs. And it's like there is a like a mechanics to it, I guess. There's a technology of what these people are doing that they've been able to replicate again and again and again
Yeah.
to get the result. And I think a lot of the big people in like Witchylandia like behave this way. And that's I think where a lot of people's really big audiences come from.
Yeah. But I mean, like, even like, I think you kind of noticed this, and I feel like a lot of maybe the same people that we follow when it comes to like astrology and just, I mean, even like numerology, this coming year and like the coming years like ahead and just like astrologically, this sort of behavior that has happened, that's not the game anymore. Like that is not going to work. That is not going to fly. Like that sort of behavior is like trash. Like that's not going to serve anymore.
Yeah.
We're done with that. We're now moving into a 1 year. Also astrologically, like, Neptune is no longer in Pisces. The sort of fog has been removed. Also for me, because I have a lot of Pisces in my chart, the fog has been removed. I've been in like a 14, 15-year fog. Like it's been removed. I think we're all sort of, we're seeing things with a clearer mind. And we're also kind of like, it's kind of like a prairie fire. Everything has been burned. We're seeing things as they are. And we're kind of like in a fuck it mentality.
Absolutely. And so, speaking of all of that, what do you think is the most valuable thing you got from your retreat? And how are you bringing that into your new return? Because you're working on some new stuff. And from what I've seen, you seem inspired to be re-entering the deck creation witchy land space.
Yeah.
So, like, how does
Yeah, I'm always working on new decks. I have my new little Oracle deck right here with
oh my
me.
God, shut the fuck up. Is it done?
This one's done. This little Oracle deck is done.
Oh my God, what? How many cards?
This one I believe is I think this one's 42.
Amazing. What's it going to be called? Is that a secret?
I don't know yet, but like this one again, like I always make decks when I'm in like just the worst funk and like in the worst moments of frustration. And this one is very much like inspired by I live in a very magical place. I live in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is very like it's a weird place.
I'm digging. I'm digging.
Yeah, it's very Santa Fe-y. I think if anything that I learned in this moment being away is um definitely I grew a backbone.
Mm,
I grew a new backbone. I grew, I think I'm okay with being unliked.
yeah, love it.
I'm okay with people not liking me all the time. I'm okay not being everyone's cup of tea.
Hmm.
Um, I'm okay with being fallible.
Yeah. It,
Um,
it's
you
huge.
know,
Yeah.
that's I'm
All are. That's the thing. We all are.
yeah,
Everyone, like no one escapes that.
think being messy, like that's okay. Um, I think also I learned who my real friends are in this community too. Like the people that I want to surround myself with. I definitely learned a lot about that. Also like the sort of tools that like I want to continue to work with and the sort of things that I don't want to work with. A lot of the things that I thought were important are no longer important. You know,
Like what?
also, huh?
Like what? What's
Being
important?
super self-righteous
Yeah.
like that, like a lot of my ego, like I had a lot of ego death, like a lot of my ego died and I needed that. I did a lot of shadow work.
Mhm.
I did a lot of shedding
Yeah.
and that was really good for me. Um, also kindness, learning to be a lot kinder to myself and to others, being
Mm,
more empathetic. Um, yeah, so I'm excited to enter a community with this different mindset.
that's awesome.
And I hope that people are like that too and accept that. And if not, then that's fine.
Yeah,
It's what it is.
totally.
So
Yeah, I love that. Honestly, I think one of the most important things for me to learn over the years was being okay being the villain in other people's story. Because, like, I know I am, and like, that's fine. It's none of my business. Is kind of how I've started to think about it. And speaking to what you were saying about kindness to yourself and kindness to others, like I really feel like the people who are occupying that space of like viciousness and judgment and like holding others to this state of extreme purity, like my heart kind of breaks for them because it's like you know that they're doing that to themselves too.
yeah,
They're also judging themselves like in this crazy harsh way,
yeah,
like it gets people nowhere. Like it's not compassionate. It's like if we can't hold compassion and grace for ourselves, like what hope do we really have of being able to be in community that actually is capable of working through like shitty moments, like fuck ups, like miscommunications, like stuff where no one's wrong, but someone's feelings were hurt and working through that in a way that it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Like,
yeah, yeah. It's like also it's magic. It's like not that big of a deal.
yeah,
Like, you
totally.
know, it's not like we're working with like nuclear codes,
Literally.
it's we gotta really if we have beef, you know, just squash it,
Yeah,
if you can. And, I think that some people need to put their big girl chonies on
yeah,
in this community. Do
totally.
do some ego death work. Some of
Yeah.
y'all, you guys are kind of looking like assholes.
And like it's interesting. I was talking with someone else for this show recently about this, about how unfortunately a lot of people who are attracted to, let's say, witchcraft and magic are people who, and this isn't everybody, but it's like are attracted to it because they want some form of power. And
Mm,
like for me, that was actually true too, because like I grew up in like a trauma situation and I was so disempowered and felt so like horrible and self-loathing that like magic and spirituality like is what connected me to my power actually. So it's like there's that aspect of it. I think a lot of people with trauma are attracted to magic as a form of healing. And then the flip side of it is like there's so many people who just want to like learn to manipulate others, have power over be like high priestess level 65, blah, 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 grandmaster, fairy lady, whatever the fuck it is, and like who want to position themselves as like, I'm the guru of witchcraft. What I say goes, listen to me or else. And like to me, that is something completely different. And it's like we see that in different kinds of magical communities and magical orders as well. It's not just witchcraft. Like we see that, I think, in ceremonial magic to some degree, as well as like wherever there is like a spiritual leader like creating a cult-like environment. And it's very interesting, like the types of people that get attracted to this space. And I don't want to demonize anybody, but like it is interesting. It's like so many people like myself, like, and I'm sure probably you, like come to this space like looking for healing, like looking for growth, looking for a better relationship to self. And for me as a teacher, like what I want to do is teach people to have a better relationship to self. Like it's not about being allegiance to Sabrina's magic code. It's like, no, 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 no. I don't want any Sabrina clones. So I keep telling everyone. It's like I want you to be like the best version of you that you can be in your own unique magical way, practicing in a way different way than I practice, but it's unique to you. Whereas I feel like a lot of these like witchy leaders are like, no, no, no. They want it to be like, this is my way or the highway. This is the right way. Everyone else is wrong. And like to me, that is actually creating this community of like disempowerment where people are not learning to trust themselves and rather to trust like high priestess level, whatever the fuck it is. And to me, that's like something that I think more people in this space need to be aware of. Because a lot of people come to this space so vulnerable and wanting community and wanting healing. And that's part of why I wanted to have some of these conversations on this show is like to hopefully give some people some tools to not get sucked in, let's say, to those toxic aspects of community. So, on that note, like, do you have any advice or thoughts for folks who maybe are new to spirituality or new to witchcraft or new to tarot? And what advice would you give them so that they don't, let's say, fall prey to like these types of toxic leaders in the space? Because there are so many.
Yeah. I first of all, magic to manipulate others, no bueno.
I agree. Yeah.
Like that's not the reason why we do this sort of stuff.
Hmm.
That comes back. That is not the reason why we do this sort of work.
Yeah.
And if you are following people that are telling you or are like you're watching them do these sort of practices where they are actively manipulating others, like I've been like, like on the phone, like watching people like do spell work like on certain figures in the world or like on like showing them like doing how to do spells on other people. I'm like, that is gross.
I agree.
Like that's not the sort of work that we do. That is not conducive into sort of the craft that we do. That's the first red flag for me.
Yeah.
Don't follow people like that if you can.
I
Um, I like that's like my first number one thing. If it and also follow your gut. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. Like there have been certain instances where like I've gone to like events and I'm like, I don't like this, and I step out.
yeah, totally.
Or like a reading where I'm like, I don't like this vibe, I'm ending it. Like I don't like it.
Yeah.
Always follow your gut. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right.
Yeah.
And also like if you can see that someone is leading by ego, they're not in tune with their practice.
Yeah.
Like they're not, and they haven't learned anything. I think I like also people that I think we need to give our elders a bigger chance. You
Yeah.
know, we need to like start going back to our elders and our elder teachings. And I think that we've turned our back on a lot of these sort of elder witches and these sort of like elder spiritual leaders, just because we think that they didn't say the right thing or they didn't, like I feel like I'm going back to more of our elders when it comes to teachings too.
So in terms of witchy elders, like who would those folks be for you?
They're like people within my own community.
Okay. Awesome. I love that.
Yeah. So like actual like brujas and like curandismos, like, people like that, seeking like healings and like, wisdom from them within my own community.
I love that.
Um, Also, it's like don't be afraid to like read like older like Wiccan books and things like that.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if people
Yeah.
like who Starhawk is or like
Yes, like Starhawk, like things like that. Like,
people who are writing in like the 60s and 70s and 80s.
yeah.
I want people to be reading witchcraft books from that period of time because like yeah, it might not be painted with the brush that we would paint it with today, but that is where the origin of a lot of this stuff that we're even doing and talking
Yeah.
about. Like that's when people were really creating a lot of this stuff out in
Yeah.
public in like the witchy land in like the English speaking world anyway. And it's so important for people, I think, to know those historical books, like
Yeah.
not Wiccan, but like the Witch's Bible, like, Drawing Down the Moon. I'm just looking at my bookshelf now, like stuff by Doreen Valiente, like all these people like Scott Cunningham, like all these like the OGs from like back in the day. Like people should be reading that
Yeah,
stuff.
like let me see. Like I have something. Like let me just see if I can find it. I'm like totally gonna like I have one deck in particular. Yeah. Like I have this one. Like this one deck in particular, which is like a little bit a little bit older. And it's by Peter Bain. It's the Shulton Tarot. Like, oh, it's like faded, but yeah, it's, like a Nawa tarot.
Oh, awesome.
Like this is like from like the 70s, like, giving things that are a little bit older a chance.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, like it's just sorry, Peter Ballin,
Like
you
there is
know,
them in these older things. And I think one other thing I want to tell like anyone who's new to the community is like you don't have to agree with everything one teacher or person or thinker or artist says in order to get value from other things that they say. Like there's a lot of shit I'm sure from like some of these old school books that I might read. I'm like, I don't know about that, but it's like then the next page will be like this amazing wisdom or like something really meaningful and interesting. And I would just encourage folks too to like remove that purity impulse. It's like just because someone says one thing in the 70s that you don't agree with doesn't mean that you need to throw out their entire body of work. Like they're still going to have so much interesting stuff to contribute to your knowledge of like witchcraft and magic and like all of this stuff, in my opinion.
yeah, like there's one astrology book that I always recommend to people, and it's from like the 80s, and like I love it. It's called The 12 Houses. By let me see, I'm trying to remember his name. Howard Sasportas. And I mean, he wrote this like in the early 80s. Like this is and like it's foundational, I
Mhm.
think, when it comes to astrology. I feel like some of the newer astrology books, I'm like, no.
Yeah. Totally.
I feel like I don't know, like I feel like they're leaning towards some like things where I'm like, no, like this go some of this like elder information is a little bit more like on the nose,
Totally.
a little bit more foundational.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, being okay with like leaning on some of those older teachings, I think are kind of a little bit important as well.
I agree.
Um, yeah, I just feel like there's certain people in the community where I've just been kind of just turned off,
Yeah,
just because of just like language, also just because of like how it's like if you don't think a certain way, you are out the door. You're
totally.
not part of community.
Yeah.
Um, you have
Yeah,
to think a certain way. You have to be a certain way. It's my way or the highway. And
totally.
I'm like, nope, that's not how it should be.
Absolutely. Like, and I think I've told you about this privately, like back when it happened. So I'm not going to get too into it now. But like, there's been a lot of people that I've known in kind of my extended witchy circles here in Toronto that as soon as I didn't have a particular opinion on, let's say, a hot topic issue happening politically around the world, all
Yeah.
of a sudden I'm like persona non grata, like officially not a witch anymore, according to them, because apparently unless you're political in one particular very narrow sort of way, you're not a witch because all witchcraft needs to be super, super activistic and political. And that's so not how it is. Like witchcraft is a series of techniques that anyone of any political stripe, any spiritual ideology, like monotheistic, polytheistic, atheist, whatever, Buddhist, anyone can work with these witchcraft
Yeah.
magic principles of any political stripe as well. And so it is always really interesting to me, again, just this rise of this purity politic and trying to exclude people from the category of witch or magician or like whatever fucking word we want to use to describe people who do this type of magical spiritual work. And it's very interesting to me because I feel like this type of thing never used to happen. Like when I went to witchy conferences, like I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago, like this was not a thing. Like what we were debating about was like totally different stuff and it was aspects of practice. It was maybe about like pagan cosmology or group practice versus solo practice and Wicca specifically, because like some old school Wiccans don't even believe you can be a solo Wiccan. And so that was the type of debates that we were having. It wasn't the type of stuff that you see now, where people aren't debating about practice and cosmology and belief and like, getting our hands dirty in the mud doing spiritual work. people aren't debating that now. It's like they're debating random political shit that like has nothing really to do with deep spiritual work. Like, can
Yeah.
we make our spiritual work political? Totally. But that's a personal choice.
Yeah. I want to argue about candles.
Can we?
Like,
Like,
I don't
okay,
want to.
I saw some hubbub that there's like a drama on TikTok about witches and candles. Like, I don't know anything about this. Like,
Oh, no, I was just joking. I was just being facetious.
oh,
Because like
really?
I don't have TikTok where I was just like, I'd rather just like argue about candles than
I
like,
don't have it. So
yeah.
that is what they're arguing about right now.
Oh, like what? Like,
Yeah, I have no idea. But from what I've heard from people who do have TikTok is that this could be totally wrong, but I've heard that some TikTok witches are t like basically talking trash about people who do candle magic, saying like, "Oh, you only know how to do that. That's like not deep magic or like whatever, whatever."
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah, I love
As someone who works a lot with valadoras, like,
I love candle magic. That's my shit.
yeah, I'm like, do you want to see my Santa Muerte like ofrenda? Like,
Yeah,
do
literally,
you want to see all my Mexican candles?
literally. Yeah, I
Like,
fucking
come
love
on.
candle magic. I would never shade that. But and I
Yeah,
know like weird.
we go to the Botanica, like that's like our jam. Like, like don't come on. That's
Literally.
dumb. That's dumb.
It's weird. And it reminds me, do you remember when the TikTok witches were talking about cursing the moon? Did you remember when this was happening?
No, because I don't do TikTok.
I don't either, but I've heard the gossip.
Cursing the moon? Like,
I don't know.
what?
Very silly. And so this is part of what concerns me is like if this is the type of conversations that people are having in the community. Like I don't know if this is just happening among like 12-year-olds or something. Like if it is, like hopefully that's the case because I wish I could just turn off like seeing any content from people under a certain age. Like I just don't want to even know what they're talking about. Like I just don't want to be arguing with a
Yeah.
12-year-old's ridiculous opinion about magic, to be honest with you. And
Ugh.
so it's weird. It's like we see this kind of clickbaity, outragey, kind of extreme, silly debates happening in witchcraft land online. And it's to me, that's like the total other end of it, where it's like, okay, so they're not talking about politics, which is great. But then the flip side, it's like they're arguing about really silly stuff.
Oh my God. The one thing that I don't like is when they're like, they have like their deck and they're like, if this found you, like, and I'm like, oh my God. Like,
I don't love that either, I will say.
I'm like, no, I'm good. Like,
I love
I
that.
do like I love a card of the day. I love like when people draw cards of the week, like what's the energy, things like that. But yeah, like I don't like, I'm not a big fan of mundane astrology. I'm not a big fan of, things being predictive
Mhm.
and making people anxious.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I'm like, let's not make people panic. Like
It's
that's not what I'm about.
And I do feel like a lot of astrologers and to some extent some tarot people do this a lot. And I think they do it to get followers
You do. They
and to
do.
make people watch the entire video. And it's just this, to me, it creates this unhealthy dependency and this kind of fear-based mentality where it's like, for me, spirituality and tarot and astrology is actually not about fear at all. Like, if anything, we should have less fear because we have these practices, not more fear. And so I find it like so psychologically manipulative and like also just, for clout and followers and all of this. Because people do, I think, to some extent, enjoy being triggered in the fear. Because like there is this kind of emotional roller coaster that people go on. And if they're not used to having a calm nervous system, they might enjoy that and then get sucked into that. And for me, all of that is just not what any of this ideally should be about. Like it should be about calming. It should be about like being able to downregulate and maybe upregulate sometimes to like do ritual or create art or like whatever it is.
Yeah.
But like it shouldn't be about fear mongering, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't like when people approach that sort of energy. Like, I'm trying to remember oh God, it's like these two gentlemen, they now own a shop in Palm Springs, but I love their approach when they'll do like a reading for their week and they'll be like, "Hey babies, like this is like the reading for the week." I'm like, that's the approach that I want. I want it to be warm and like like we're enjoying this experience even if the astrology is like tough for the week, even if the reading is like tough, like we're approaching this with like positive mentality.
Yeah,
We're approaching this with like an open heart. We're not bringing people into the circle with fear
totally.
because that's not how I want to approach my magic.
Yeah,
I'm not approaching this place with fear because we're witches. We're not here to be fearful. And I don't want to make the people around me fearful.
absolutely. Yeah, and I think witchcraft, if we do it properly, it gives us the tools to
Yeah.
see that fear. Because I think people often feel fearful when the locus of control is external.
Hmm.
And witchcraft, one of the things I love about it, if we do it right, I think, like it brings that locus of control back inside. It's like, what can I control? What can I change? And often that's ourselves. And that is where I think the seat of so much power is. And choosing to step away from this kind of like fear porn kind of is like what it is. But
Yeah.
again, it creates a dependency because then
Yeah. I
everyone's,
was,
oh my God, I have to look at the next one. What's it going to be? What's it going to be tomorrow? What's going to be next week? Oh my God. Ugh. Like, and it creates this like activated, vigilant, paranoid state. And I don't think that's a healthy place to be, even if the astrology does suck, to be honest.
yeah. I was blowing my hair out before we got on camera and because I love a good blowout.
I love
And I had like the astrology like for the week. And then as soon as I heard it go into mundane, I was like, nope. And I was like, I don't need that. I don't need to go into that. Like, I just need to know what the transits are. Like, I don't need that energy. Like, why are you telling your audience that? Like,
absolutely. And like the other thing too is it's going to hit everyone different based on our chart anyway.
yeah,
And so that seems maybe more important to know. So, like getting a one-on-one personalized reading with an astrologer for the year ahead based on your own chart, based
yeah,
on your own transits, your own everything, like that is going to be so much more personalized and so much more useful. And
yeah,
having someone who can help you like work through, like, okay, this month is going to suck. What can we do about that? Like, how can
yeah,
we work with that? And also, like, why is it happening? And what parts of our life does that maybe like loop back to? What is it a ripple of to help us kind of prepare for it and just think through it? And all of this work, it does give us so much resources and knowledge and information to help us meet the day.
yeah. And I feel like the people that I follow now, and like maybe like you too, like, they don't go into that space.
No,
Like, I feel like I did like a purge.
totally. I also
Like,
do the purge. I have
you
no
did the
regret.
purge too.
I got
And
rid of
okay,
so many people.
also advice for people watching this, do the purge.
Purge.
Go through your feed of the people you follow and do the purge for your mental health and for your practice and cleanse your feed. Like, follow people that bring nothing but positivity to your practice, that bring something to the table that, that you enjoy watching. And, again, like I did that and it changed me completely.
Totally.
So I only follow people that I like. I only follow people's practices that I enjoy. I'm not going to follow people that make me fearful, that are, in that guilt me,
Mhm.
that make me feel bad about myself and bad about my practice.
Totally.
Yeah, and are also tearing people down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to follow people like that. Like, that's gross. So
Absolutely.
I don't do that anymore. So,
All of that way of being, it's so optional. And I
yeah.
think like if an alien came down and like looked at the witchy community on Instagram, they would probably be like, wow, there's like a lot of mean bitches up in here. Like, what is going on? Why is everyone guilting each other? Why is everyone throwing shade? Like, why is everyone shaming each other's practice? And so I think it's so easy for folks, especially who are new in that space, to like see all of this and think that they can't opt out. So I hope
Yeah.
that's like a nice reminder to everybody that like they can opt out and it's never too late. Like I cut ties with a lot of like well-known people because I was just like, this is not the vibe, and this is not like an elevated vibration. Like this is not a
Yeah.
healthy vibration, like for me to be in or for me to be exposed to, and that's not a spiritual bypassing positivity washing thing. It's just choosing to step away from dysfunction.
Yeah. I had a lot of people just kind of also just cut ties with me as well because of like who I associate with or like because I just don't engage anymore and they think that like I'm passive and it's like no, I just protect my peace. And I also just surround myself with people that I respect and also don't engage in this sort of tomfoolery.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so now that you're thinking of kind of taking a step back into the community, like how are you going to be approaching it a bit differently now? And like what do you hope to be getting out of it? And also what do you hope to be bringing to it with your new cool deck? I'm so excited about this. It's so awesome.
Well, I mean, like, I think it's going to be a while before I'm able to actually publish decks. Just I'm waiting for things to be a little bit more affordable. I really hope that things get a lot more affordable, because I really do want to publish decks again. I love making decks. It's just something I really love doing. I hope that I invite more people into the circle, more new people, new audience, more people that are curious, more people that aren't afraid to, again, that are like me, that are okay with being fallible, more nuanced, that, just want to, that also just want to engage with tarot. Like, just forget the bullshit, that just want to engage with tarot,
Mhm.
that want to learn tarot, also that are excited about oracle decks because I love oracle decks. And I just, I hope that I get to meet new creators, people that I've never met before, people that I would have never engaged with before. I am always open to making friends with like badass people. I love meeting new creators. And also like again, like let's be friends. Like I'm not scary. I'm approachable.
Yeah, and like
Um,
life is too short to like spend so much time on drama. Like,
yeah, like and if we didn't get along before, like let's get along now. And if I was a dick before, like I'm so sorry. Like people change,
people
you
do.
know? Yeah.
Totally. And I think it's brave of you to share this as well because so many, like so much of the lie of that community is that like you can't change and that you can't apologize or, there is this purity idea or it's like if you were one thing then you're always tainted by that mistake or like whatever the fuck it is. There's this like weird attitude about it. And so I think for you to claim so, like a different way of being is like so
Yeah.
and I think it also paves the way for like a lot of other people to do the same thing because I'm sure there's are going to be a bunch of people who are looking back at the past or like oh damn I was caught up in blah 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 whatever it was and like also might have taken that kind of sacred pause to reflect and to recalibrate. And like we're all getting older. Like I'm 36 now. Like, we're
Yeah.
getting there. Our brain is now fully developed. So, there is something to be said for that, like maturity, perspective. Like it's okay to change out
Yeah.
loud in public. And I think a lot of the time, like there's this idea that if you change your mind, like you just have to exist quietly and like disappear forever and just be annihilated. And so I think continuing to take up space in your own terms and what the way that you want to, like I think that's such a great example for folks too.
Yeah. I mean, things get better with age,
They
you
do.
know?
They really do, honestly.
Yeah. I think that also like I think the stuff that I was thinking about and I was creating when I was younger, like it wasn't fully fleshed out. And things that I want to create now, like I'm a lot more proud of, I'm a lot more excited about. I think that I'm coming back with a better mentality. And I would hope that people want to engage more with stuff like that. I think that again, this sort of new sort of wave that we're going into with 2026 is more about authenticity. That's what we're wanting. Like we're going into a new era and people are wanting to engage with that. Like the stuff that was beforehand, like it's just not working anymore.
Yeah.
People don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want that personally.
Yeah, me neither.
I want community back. I want us to I want us to feel like we can engage again.
Yeah. And then we can be human again together, whether that's
Yeah.
in person or online
Yeah.
or whatever, and acknowledge each other's humanity.
Yeah.
talk about spiritual stuff. Like, I don't see as much spiritual creators talking about this is the nitty-gritty of my practice. Like, here's a spell I did, here's a spirit I communicated with. Like, no one's talking about that shit anymore. It's all like political crap, to be honest. Like, everyone's posturing with
Yeah.
that as a way of being an authentic spiritual person, quote unquote. It's not as much like, no, let's talk about the actual spirituality, which is what I want to see more of. Like, I want to see more creators writing books about their unique practice, like their unique way of doing magic, their unique oracle deck, their unique tarot deck, like their unique perspective on like whatever the hell it is. Like that's what I want to see is like more creation, less destruction. That's what
Yes, I completely agree with that. Like, I get really excited when I just see you post tarot cards because I'm like, thank you, freaking tarot cards. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see people doing readings again. I want to see people, like, what sort of candle work are you doing? Like, what sort of, like, rituals are we doing? And it's like, I don't want to think about, like, what sort of ritual work are we doing to tear down these sort of systems? Like, I don't want to, that's not like, or, posturing yourself. Like, that's not what, no, like, I want to see us again embracing our craft and our practices and again like how can we share those sort of tools with people to build agency, like I want to see that again.
I
um I miss that.
I miss that too, because like there was an era where like myself and like many others, like we're sharing about like, yeah, I just went through this horrible experience and here's a ritual I'm doing about it. Like people would post their altars and like we can talk about whether or not that's a bad idea. Like I'm sure we can have an interesting debate on the yays and nays of that. But like I love seeing people's altars. Like I love seeing people's like lit candles that are burning down. Like I love seeing like the tarot reading they did for themselves that morning. Like I love that stuff and taught like working with spirituality for ourselves, like rather
Yeah,
than like, here's how you hex this political figure. And it's like a lot of people doing that type of work, their lives are a fucking mess. Like they're the last type of person that should be worrying about someone else. Like, let's worry about getting our own shit in order and healing our own stuff. Like that is the most interesting part of this work, in my opinion. Is it so
yeah,
powerful when it's worked with for that purpose?
yeah, like I was talking with one of my girlfriends and like a candle exploded, like take a picture of it, like oh my God, like things like that, or doing like tobacco work, like just us engaging and stuff like that. Like I want to bring that back.
Me too.
I
Yeah.
miss that. I really miss it.
Yeah. And like, so can we make a pact right now over the
Yeah,
screen? Like post more shit like that. Pinky
more
promise.
shit like that.
Oh, pinky promise. It's done.
Yeah.
I heard it here first. We're bringing it back. And like, I think that was why witchy community online was so badass at one point. Because that is what people were posting. Like interesting ritual shit. Like of candles, of cards, of a neat spread, of like a cool incense blend that they made, of an exploded like candle. I had a few of those over the years, and that was always really interesting too to post those and be like, hey, this is what I think happened. Like there's something that everyone can learn from that, and I think can also show like, hey, magic is like kind of real, you guys. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there's like let's get back to the practice. Like half of these people in leadership positions in witchy land these days, it seems like they're there because they've got the right amount of clout, the right political opinion, quote unquote. It's not the depth of their practice because that is not demonstrated any longer.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of people in the community don't value that as much as communally we once did. Because it
Yeah.
did used to be about sharing that. And that was the beauty of online witchy community is learning about these different ways of practicing because there's so many more solo practitioners these days. Like I love practicing alone. Like I'll probably always practice alone. Like I practiced with groups before. I don't know, not super down. It's fine, but like the solo practice is for me like exactly where it's at. And so I love learning from like other solo practitioners who are, having spiritual experiences like by themselves at their altar, having spirit communication, receiving spiritual support like from
Mhm.
whatever it is they're working with, whether it's ancestors, deities, saints, etc. Like that's the interesting nitty-gritty shit. And I do think it's very interesting. A lot of people are not posting that anymore.
Yeah. I'm like, are you still connected to your practice? Like, is the practice still there? Is it still real?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? Or is it about the followers? Is it about the marketing? Like I'm not here to take food off of anyone's table. I'm not about that.
Yeah.
But like again, what are we doing?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And so, what is the biggest sign, would you say, that aspects of the spiritual community has kind of lost its way?
I mean, everything that I'm like looking at right now. Like the fact that like I am struggling to find a podcast that I resonate with. I that I feel like I don't see circles anymore, that I don't see the sort of engagement of like, the excitement of also like retreats. I don't see that anymore. You know, us like having retreats. Like I haven't seen that since like 2016, of us being like, oh, we're like, there's this retreat, like, let's sign up for it. Like, a bunch of group of witches getting together and doing rituals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or like these sort of like witchy pop-up events. Like, I don't see too much of that anymore. I don't see a lot of that. Um, Instead, I see a lot of these sort of things of like, it's always these sort of famous influencers who are really sort of banking on the anxiety of people of what's currently going on in the world right now
Yeah.
and the anxiety and fears that people have, which are very real.
Yeah.
And, I feel it, a lot of people feel it. But at the same time, too, we're not embracing the craft and we're not giving people strength. We're not giving them the tools at all to embrace the strength that they need right now.
Yeah.
We're not teaching people how to read tarot. We're not teaching people how to do candle magic. We're not teaching people how to actually do astrology. Like, there's a very few people that I actually see doing these courses.
Yeah.
And if I do, they're like the OGs.
Yeah.
And it's a very few, like, handful of people. And if anything, if I do see people selling the courses, I don't like the fact that they're also selling it with this sort of like I don't like the sort of market branding of the person as well, where I'm like, it's not about you, it needs to be about the craft. I'm not buying you, I'm buying these tools.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I do think there is a teacher for everybody. Like as a course creator myself, like I do put myself in the branding, obviously, because I
Yeah,
know that there's going to be some people who resonate for whatever reason with the way that I deliver things.
yeah.
And I think the same is true for, I guess, other folks positioning their work through the lens of themselves. So I think I'm like less salty on that personally, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're
There's
saying.
like certain, I don't want to name names,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. I know what you're
I
saying.
think you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I
There's
think,
like certain astrology creators where I'm just like,
yeah, I know what you mean. And
yeah, and I'm like, oh, can we not?
it's very interesting for sure. All of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And it's just frustrating. And, like I miss what we used to have. And I just like I don't see that anymore. And, things that are like more like trends and also making things more like of like a blanket experience when it can't be a blanket experience.
yeah. Yeah, it is so individual. And I feel like there's a term from like the 90s that we need to collectively bring back, like UPG. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, the unverified personal gnosis. Like having the guts to claim like this was my spiritual experience with this divinity, this saint, this blah blah blah. And just the term itself encapsulates that it's like quote unquote unverified. Like it's your own truth. And it's always back in that era. Like it was always so interesting to me to compare notes with people who were working with the same beings that I was working with. And
Yeah.
compare notes. Like, okay, she's like this, she's like that, she likes this, she doesn't like that. Like I want to bring more of that like nitty-gritty talking about our experiences in a spiritual sense, like back into the light. So I feel like that is where so many interesting things happen.
Yeah. I don't see people talking about like deity work that much anymore.
Yeah, it's so
Like
interesting.
I don't see a lot of people talking about, working with saints that much anymore. Like I don't see people talking about stuff like that.
I don't either. And like that was like the thing in like the 90s and like the 2000s, like the early
Yeah.
like that first decade. Like it was all like, okay, who's your patron deity? Who are you working with? What pantheon are you working with? Like all of that stuff was more part of the conversation. And I think it's fair the conversation can change, but I think there are like it's worth revisiting some of that stuff, like to see if it resonates.
Yeah.
The old
And it,
school, like it
yeah.
still might resonate.
Did you ever watch the show American Gods?
No, but I read the book way back in the day.
Okay. Yeah, like it kind of reminds me a little bit about American Gods where it's like right now, like the old gods aren't being worshipped and instead technology is being worshipped,
Hmm.
which isn't like a bad thing because we need tech in order to get our point across. We rely on tech in order like right now,
Absolutely.
but we're ignoring the old gods. And
Yeah,
it's like what happens when we ignore them?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And I think there's so much strength and power and support to be found, like in those spiritual systems, like whether that's like an ancient Greco-Roman pantheon, like you're talking about, like Celtic pantheon, or like whatever the fuck it is. Like
Yeah.
there's such a rich history to be looked at. Like look at the
Yeah.
folklore, the mythology. Like there's so much to be learned there in terms of understanding like where did all this witchy pagany stuff come from?
Yeah. Or
Mhm.
like even like animal magic.
Totally.
Like, like what happened to that? Like,
Totally. Yeah. No, it's super, super interesting.
yeah.
So, what else should we talk about? Was there anything else you wanted to share about like your experience kind of leaving the community and deciding to kind of dip your toes back? Because I didn't expect you to ever come back, but like I'm glad that that's in the cards.
I mean, I didn't expect myself to come back either.
Oh,
I mean, it's kind of like a slow sort of like dipping my toes back because, I work full time, like I kind of had like a career sort of shift, like I've been working in galleries, I was a professor for a little bit, never again. Ugh.
yeah, never again.
Uh,
Like I
Never
don't.
again. Never
No.
again. Um, I work in art auctions now, which I love. I don't know if like I'll be leaving that anytime soon. Like it's just something I and I also kind of it's kind of funny because in auctions we have these terms that are kind of almost like magic-y as well.
Hmm.
So we have the auctioneer, the way that they say things, we call that chanting.
Shut up. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, so when they're going into like increments, we call that chanting. So
I did not know this.
yeah, yeah. And it's like I kind of feel like it's almost like alchemy,
Yeah.
like there's like a lot of like money in, money out,
Yeah.
the way that the secondary market works. And I love it. Like there's something about like the energy that you feel in the room in an art auction that is just like I don't know. And then you just hear like the auctioneer go off, like going up, going up, going up, going up, and then the energy building up in the room. It's almost kind of like spell work.
That's so cool.
And then when you finally hear like the gavel go down,
Yeah.
oh, it's just like
Just dissipates.
so yeah, it's a really sort of like energetic feeling that I really love. So I mean, I can't see myself leaving that world just yet.
It sounds
Um,
like and the energy of it all sounds very like fun.
yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like that's kind of like balancing that out now with like, going back into like this sort of practice and, opening myself up to like also doing readings again for people because that's taxing doing readings for people. It's energetically like I used to do like readings for events and like I would do like 20 readings and then I would get the flu.
Yeah.
Like, cause it's so energetically taxing and but like getting myself back into that rhythm because I do love doing readings for people. I love being able to provide reports for people. So opening myself up again to doing that in the coming months, I'm really excited about. But, again, like I didn't, it took me a while to tell myself, you can do this. You can go back into community. Like there is a place for you.
Absolutely.
Like, and if people don't like it, they can eat ass. Like, I was really nervous. I was scared and I had to let go of that fear,
Yeah.
but I'm at a point right now where I'm like, you know what? Like I want to. I miss it. So,
I
yeah.
love So how long did it take you to do all those paintings for this new deck?
I mean, I'm not done yet. Like
Mm.
I'm still working on it. The Oracle deck, it took me probably about like 3 months because those are all digital paintings.
Hmm.
I'm working mostly digital now. I think a lot of people are doing a lot more digital, but a part of me also kind of wants to mix again more of my hand painted work
Yeah.
into this new tarot deck as well, just because there's something about doing the physical and then putting that into the digital that just it feels right.
Yeah.
It just feels like you're putting yourself into it. And I don't know, I just feel like it just fits right. And I was recently at a gift shop at the Huntington Gardens in LA when I was visiting home, and they had the Taschen Tarot book, which was crazy. And it was kind of like a reminder of like, oh yeah, I made something that was important
Yeah.
because my work was published in that book.
Yeah.
And my work deserves to be in this world and people enjoy it. And I want to make tools for people because people need tools. And I was put on this earth to make tools for people.
I love that.
So,
I love that.
yeah.
And I love that you're continuing that creative process, like even while having, let's say, like a typical job. Because I think a lot of people, like, they think it has to be one or the other.
Yeah.
So I
Well, it's
think
also, yeah.
you're like balancing both and just allowing that spirit of both of those things to kind of bring you forward. I think that's awesome.
I need health insurance. So,
That's real. That's real. I'm sure the Americans listening to this are going to be like, word.
yeah. And I mean, like, again, like I love my career, you know, um, it would take a lot for me to like want to like leave that world. Either that or like a very rich husband.
Speaking into existence.
Say that in the ethers. But again, yeah, like I think you can find a balance in your career.
Yeah,
And, I don't know. I like being a career woman and I also love doing art and I love doing magic. So it's like, yeah,
all of the things.
yeah,
I love that. So to finish us off, I always like to ask two little questions at the end.
yeah.
So going along with the name of this show, one thing is going to be a healing thing, another thing will be a harm thing. So for the harm, something that you stopped doing because it was causing you harm
Oh God.
that you maybe thought was spiritual at first.
Hmm. Huh. That I thought was spiritual at first.
Potentially. If you can't think of anything that you thought was spiritual at first, it could just be something in general that you've stopped doing because it felt like it was harming you more than anything else, even if the intention at first was good.
I mean, like all that ego stuff that I was doing like back in the day. I thought that like I was helping community. And then I realized I was like, no, I wasn't. I was not doing anything for the collective. I was instead building harm, you know. I wasn't bringing anything to the community.
Yeah. And, like,
Yeah,
what
I had,
helped you step away from that? Because I think so many people get so addicted to that, like, ego hit,
yeah.
engage in that. It's like, what enabled you to finally release that?
I think seeing how it hurt others and also how it made me feel internally in my body,
Mm,
like it took a lot out of me.
yeah.
And also having personal conversations and seeing how it affected the people that I respected around me and how they recoiled within themselves.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
So, thinking that the work that you're doing and thinking that you're bringing stuff to the table and that you're doing stuff for the community and you're being self-righteous, and then realizing that it's actually just your ego driving you.
Hmm.
It's like it takes a lot to realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad you released that. That's good. And the other thing is something the healing that you do now,
Oh,
something that
healing.
gives you a lot of good vibes that has made a really positive difference in your life. It could be anything like habit, spiritual practice, a book you found really helpful.
I mean, like, I think writing, I write a lot. I
Mm.
love writing. I also do like a lot of dream work. I always like have like a book like
Mhm.
underneath my pillow next to me. Like if because feel like I always have these insane dreams. And maybe it's because my moon is in Pisces.
Yeah,
My dreams are just like super vivid
I love
that
it.
I always have to just write my dreams down. And I feel like I've been consistently doing that lately, like the past 3 years, that has really like informed a lot of like my writing and a lot of like my art. And it just kind of it helps me. It's like every morning I'll write something.
I love that.
And also I'm just like my brain is nutty. Like my dreams are so nutty.
I love that.
Yeah, so I think if anything, people need to do more dream work.
That's another thing that was popular in like the 90s and early 2000s that people always talked about dream work. And I feel like people don't talk about it as much now.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah, definitely. Like getting stones that like sort of help like with your dreams are like really important too. And being okay with like lucid dreaming, I think is like super fun.
absolutely.
So
I love.
yeah,
And then the
yeah, get
writing that
weird.
you're get weird. I love that. And
Yeah.
then the writing that you're doing, is that mostly, let's say, writing through the dreams, or are you also doing like journaling, creative writing? Like what else are you writing?
Like journaling, creative writing. I'm like working on a book.
Up, okay. This is
Yeah.
fun. This is the first time learning this. So this is
Yeah.
exciting.
Um,
What's the book? Oh my God, I love it. I think everyone should write a book. So
yeah. But it's kind of like I'm like kind of yeah. I've been working on it for a while. I'm really excited about it, but it's been healing and needed, and I think writing is such a powerful tool to just get a lot of things out and a lot of your creativity out.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like I find writing the same for me. Like it helps you process your ideas. It helps you learn to articulate your ideas. It can be poetic, it can be logical, it can be like all of these things. And it can be a spiritual experience as well to be writing, a creative, magical, spiritual experience. I'm really excited to hear more about that. Maybe I'll ask you more about that offline. Is that super exciting? I'm super, super excited to hear this.
yeah, yeah. You're gonna be like, you're weird.
No, 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 no. I'm like, okay, like I'm super stoked for this.
Yeah,
And writing is just, it's such a beautiful way of expression. I think everyone should be writing. Like even if it's not to publish, like everyone has something to say. And I think when we write more, it helps us think better. And it also helps us be better witchy, magician-y, magical energy work people. Because we're learning to channel something and to actually let it express itself through our body so it doesn't get clogged up in there.
completely.
I think that's awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here on my little show. I really appreciate you and your time and your story. And I'm sure everyone is going to get a lot out of everything that you've shared today. So thank you so much. And I'm super excited for your new deck and new book. That is fucking awesome. And I think hopefully one thing that people can take away from this is the importance of continuing to create throughout life, no matter kind of the ups and downs of what you're going through. So I think that's super beautiful note to end on. And thank you so much. And we'll catch everyone on the next episode. Bye.